Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. There's 4 people on my thumbnail, and not one of them is a journalist, in my opinion, right? But I'm going to back that up with facts, right? And you have 4 people here. Specifically, 2 of them have started off with, people are calling it different things. Griftergate, Gamergate 2, whatever it is, and sometimes it all goes back to money. And I want to make a broad criticism here of the journalist video game industry, if you will, and the black hole, the dark ages that it's in, as I put it. And it's all because of journalistic standards that really have gone to heck, right? I mean, it's just there aren't none. There is no journalistic standards. What used to be journalism, which for years and decades was a respected industry, a respected profession, a profession that even presidents would rely on for facts. It's Kennedy and other politicians, they used to say, it's not really a story until it hits the New York Times, right? And even Kennedy himself said that he would get more out of reading the New York Times than he would do from intelligence reports. That's how much trust the industry had at one point. That's no longer the case, with corporate media, with all these advertisers having influences, these huge corporations trying to buy media companies in order to serve their best interest. All that has gone by the wayside. So the purpose of this video is not here to sit here and attack all these people, right? I'm going to make several points. I don't know any of these people. They could be great people at parties, right? Just like anybody else. And I'm not here to defend anybody, but to make a broader point of what the industry has become. And maybe those of you out there who want to become journalists can actually, realize your dream and become a real journalist. Anybody can call themselves a journalist, okay? The problem with the industry now is you have English majors, right? You have people that never studied mass communication or journalism or anything like that, just start to begin writers. A lot of journalists begin, they're English majors, for example. You see a lot of that. They become broadcasters, they become other things, and they pass themselves as journalists sometimes, right? The profession has been watered down. And for us to know what a journalist is, I'm going to put a link down below, not only to the articles that I'm going to quote, because there are standards, right? Back in the day when I was growing up, back in the Atari 2600 days, there used to be something called the American Society of Newspaper Editors, right? They held the standards for journalists. What kind of standards, right? I want you, right? I'm going to read 5 articles to you, right? 5 articles, and these are statements of principles. And think of how many people can be disqualified because they do not follow any of these articles, right? And we can start with Article 1. Responsibility. The primary purpose of gathering and distributing news and opinion is to serve the general welfare by informing the people and enabling them to make judgments on the issues of the time. Newspaper men and women, this is gendered language because, this is 1975. Not only that, the government says now there's only men and women, so, just following the government regulations. Hallelujah. Who abuse the power of their personal roles, selfish motives, or unworthy purposes and are faithless to that public trust. The American press was made free not just to inform or just to serve as a forum of debate, but also to bring independent scrutiny to bear on the forces of power in the society, including the conduct of official power at all levels of government. Right? It was another branch of our freedom that would let us speak truth to power. Right? And they would do that by informing us, by giving us the news. And how would they do that? Because they had freedom of the press, which is Article 2. Freedom of the press belongs to the people. It must be defended against encroachment or assault from any quarter, public or private, aka corporations buying journalists off, right? By influencing what they print because ultimately they pay their salary. Or, these corporations that advertise there, that silence journalists of not printing certain stories, right? Negative stories about their products. Journalists must be constantly alert to see that the public's business is conducted in public, right? The shining light of truth. Everything has to be transparent. They must be vigilant against all who would exploit the press for selfish purposes. How many video game journalists have we just destroyed with Article 2, right? And just can't call them journalists. Just think about it. Article 3, independence. Journalists must avoid the impropriety and the appearance of impropriety, as well as any conflict of interest or the appearance of conflict. They should neither accept anything nor purpose or any activity that might compromise or seem to compromise their integrity. Now, guys, I've been in business for a long time. I've been on the sales side of things, right? And I know how these things occur. When you have an employee, in this case, writers or journalists that are underpaid, it's very easy for somebody, aka me, to come over and say, hey, we're holding this event. I really want to inform you about our new products. They get to that event, and here I am. I got the Hooters girls. I got drink, right? I got dinner. It's going to be a great time. That could be quite enticing for somebody who's working a 9 to 5 that's only making $50,000. And let's face it, journalists now, just the regular journalists, are not even making that. They get paid by the article. Right? Journalists now, especially in the video game industry, are famous for being underpaid. A lot of their actions and what you see them doing is specifically because of that. Article 4, truth and accuracy. Good faith with the reader is the foundation of good journalism. Every effort must be made to assure that the news content is accurate, free from bias, and in context. Listen to that. Free from bias and in context. That disqualifies most of video games journalism now, because it's so politically driven, right? And all sides are represented fairly. That doesn't happen. You're never going to get the conservative side, right, from the left-leaning magazines, and you're not going to get the leftist side or the socialist side from conservative outlets. Editorials, analytical articles, and commentary should be held to the same standards of accuracy with respect to facts as news reports, right? Because there's two different things. There's, journalism, and there's reporters. Do you know the difference? I'm going to put links to all this stuff so you guys can look at it down here, go through the description. All right, ethics and standards. Journalists create the content and write pieces using their opinion, while reporters rely on collected facts. Right? Both professionals follow the same ethical practices and standards, or should anyway. That's what you're striving for there. What else are you looking for in your journalist? You're looking for impartiality. To be impartial does not require to press or to be unquestioning or refrain from editorial expression, right? You can give your opinion. Sound practice, however, demands a clear distinction for the reader between news reports and opinion, right? So you report the facts and you can state your opinion, but you have to let the viewer decide, not present things from a particular point of view and telling your reader that they're wrong if they hold the opposite point of view to you, right? You can't start off your article saying, well, this game is crap because the guy who made it voted for Trump, and if you voted for Trump, you're an idiot, right? Or if you're a socialist, you're an idiot. Your political leanings have nothing to do whether or not you can create an unbiased article, or it should. But not in today's market. In today's market, you have to have an opinion, and you have to create controversy in order to get attention. That's what's wrong with a lot of journalism today. Right? Fair play. Journalists should respect the rights of the people involved in the news. Let me read that again. Fair play. Journalists should respect the rights of people involved in the news. Observe the common standards of decency, hello, Kotaku, and stand accountable to the public for the fairness and accuracy of their reports. And you guys can go delve deep in them here. And I'm just going to give examples of the 4 people that are on the thumbnail. All right, we can start with Elisa Mercante. Elisa Mercante, I don't know her personally. I don't know if she's a good person, a bad person. All we know is the media face of her. And that's not, you don't get to know somebody like that, right? Because that's just their work, right? And most of the reports on her are negative, so I'm trying to present something that's fair here. But what do we know about her? What we do know about her is she went to school, right? I believe she got her master's even in English and worked at Kotaku. During her work at Kotaku, there was a lot of controversy with one creator, YouTube creator, Smash JT. And it was really a portrayal of what really is going on between the industry and YouTubers. There's a big hole in the industry as far as trust. And even though journalists, video game journalists, don't want to recognize that they are not credible anymore, and that's the reason their business is going down, I'll give you data in order to back that up. And a Gallup poll from 2024 revealed that only 31% of the American public have a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the media. That means 69% of people that read what you write don't trust you. That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem because they've seen the decline in video game journalism. You know, and video game journalism, you know, really reflects the broader trends. We just had a CBS reporter claim that the Holocaust was caused by weaponized free speech. Right? She clearly let her bias out because she's in favor of censoring speech. That is mind-blowing. Think of the culture that we have right now where journalists whose actual function is truth, regardless of opinion. What is the fact? What is the truth? These people want to censor free speech. And most of the video game journalists out there fall under that category. They want to censor speech that they don't like. That disqualifies you from being a journalist. I don't know. Right? I don't know the whole depth of Elisa Mercante's work. Right? But clearly, she crossed the line when she contacted Smash JT's wife. That's according to the articles. That's not my opinion. Right? The articles clearly state, right, that they should respect the rights of the people involved in the news. Now, what we don't know, because we just don't know it, guys, we don't know whether or not she was instructed to do that because her boss went on record and says that she supports these kind of things. They could have just thrown her under the bus, right? I'm not going to sit here not knowing the facts and try to judge every move that she made. I mean, there's things that she says, you know, in public on her own, and there's things that she does at work. Now, if her work is condoning this, like, I'll give you an example. We don't know, right? But if her boss saying this is okay, we don't know whether or not her boss says go after this guy because, you know, he's ruffling our feathers, he's taking away a business, whatever it is, right? If she was instructed to do that, it's a whole different ball of wax. And let me tell you something, guys. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer here, right? But this is just my opinion of what I would do, or what most people would do, or most people would ask these questions. Why is the lawsuit between Elisa Mercante and Smash JT? Why is that not the lawsuit for wrongful termination against the employer, Kotaku? Why is not a counter lawsuit from Smash JT to the employer if they condone that? That's where the money's at. This lawsuit, to me and to a lot of people, is a waste of time. But the figure that it reveals, what was most revealing to me about the lawsuit was the amount of money, $75,000. Now, it doesn't matter how you feel about Elisa Mercante. Let me tell you, anybody who would go to school for 4 years to get a bachelor and go 2 more years to get a master, which I believe she has, getting paid $75,000 a year is highway robbery unless you're completely incompetent. And I'm in no position to judge the whole of her work because I don't know it. I just know what's on the internet, which is going to be completely biased because most of the stories that are out there are negative. Right? But just in general, if you went 6 years to school and all you're going to get is $75,000, you got a problem. Because you should be worth more than $75,000. Now, how do I know that? It's very simple. A manager for In-N-Out makes over $100,000. Now, you tell me, what would be the more important job? Being a journalist who's unbiased, telling the truth out there, or that's what you strive for, or selling hamburgers. Now, the way the business is now, you can't be a straight journalist because you're not going to make any money because nobody's going to pay you to tell the truth. That's how screwed up journalism is now. Right? If, let's just say for the sake of argument, Elisa Mercante did everything right, she would still make only $75,000. That's a sad state of affairs. Right? Now, what do you call the YouTubers now? Grifters? Think about that. If there was no money involved, there wouldn't be no reason to call anybody a grifter because they're just making content. The reason they're being called grifters is because of the amount of money they're generating. These are entertainers. They're not journalists. Now, some people may call themselves journalists. I don't believe that Smash JT ever has, right? And I'm not here to defend Smash JT. I don't know everything that he's written, right? And he might get things wrong. I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is you can't hold people to journalistic standards that aren't journalists, because all these people that try to go into journalistic journeys ultimately fail because they're not prepared, because they don't have the training, because they don't have the infrastructure to create proper journalistic channels. And what do I mean? Right? In general, most people that call themselves journalists on YouTube are not as qualified, for example, let's say as experienced as CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla is up to his butt right now in legal fees because he claims he was defrauded, I believe, by his insurance company. Rookie mistake. Why is it a rookie mistake? Because he didn't go through the proper channels. He's not a trained journalist. A lot of people get insulted when I say you're not a real journalist if you're a YouTuber. It's not an insult, it's a fact. I know how to change my own oil. I know how to do basic transmission service. I know how to change brakes. I'm not a mechanic. I do that for a hobby. Right? I do that because I know how to do it. But if I change your oil or if I change your brakes and I didn't torque a certain bolt, right, to the right pressure, are you going to hold me to the ASNE standards of a mechanic? You shouldn't. You'd be an idiot if you were, because I'm just doing it out of my house. It's the same thing for YouTubers. They can claim they're journalists, and I'm not saying they can't do journalistic work, right? Some of it might be better than what's out there, but they're not journalists because they don't have that infrastructure. It's not an insult. You can better prepare. You can spend the money. Right? You can do the things to become a journalist, and then you can be a real journalist, in the full sense of the word. But most of them are not. And they're not even interested. All they want to do is create content, make money. And because of that, the content they produce is only driven a certain way. Right? You can get, look at the views, for example, on Avowed right now. If you make an Avowed video and say that you like the game, how many views are you going to get? Unless you're a huge channel, you're not going to get many. But if you were to make, no matter what size channel, and take the most negative, most drama-driven opinion of the game, you're going to get more views. That's what the system rewards. That's the chains that most YouTubers are bound to if they want to be successful. You need a negative, and you need an enemy every day, right? right? Positive stories are not going to do squat for you on YouTube if you want to be up and coming. So there's sins on both sides, right? And this is what this huge conflict that it's creating. Again, I don't know any of these people. I'm not going to sit here. I don't personally know them, right? So I'm not going to sit here and defend Alyssa, or I'm not going to defend Smash JT. I'm just giving you the facts of what's happening. Now, their problems are going to be resolved in court. The court's going to decide. But I think their time would be better spent doing other things. Or maybe, going after the right people, the ones that are actually making money off of this content. But you can see the pocket watching, right? If you're a journalist out there and you went to school and you have $100,000 in debt because you studied, whatever, gender studies or whatever. Now you're a journalist and you have all this debt, and you see a streamer making a night what you make in a week, you're going to feel some type of way. And they're getting more views than you because the public has no trust in journalism anymore. Those are the realities of today's video game market. And why is that? Why does the public feel that way? Well, because you have idiots like these, like people that are just making up stuff. Or you can have people that work at actual places like TJ Haffer, or whatever he's calling himself. I don't know. It looks like a man from the picture. Our government says there's only men and women, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong and whatever. But he takes off points for people calling the Gulf of America the Gulf of Mexico, Mexico, America. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The whole thing's hypocritical. If you're left-leaning, you were changing the names of statues of other places because you thought that the names were improper because those guys were from the South or whatever. But now you're mad about this. It's a little hypocritical, right? But that's okay in your own personal life. But if you're actually taking away from the prestige of a game, if your opinion is skewed because of politics, you've let go of your journalistic card right there, right? If you're contacting people's spouses, that's when you start letting go of actually being in my opinion, right? But my opinion is based on fact. My opinion is based on the standards, and it's not based because I have a preference for this YouTuber or other YouTubers or this type of, no. Those are what the standards are, and you violated them. This guy did right here. You have another guy that's most famous for throwing his best friend under the bus. What did he do? He goes into an award show and starts talking about how he hates Trump and Elon Musk. That is Greg Miller. Is he a journalist? No, he's just trying to get attention on a huge platform, right? He gets his platform, and what does he do? He self-promotes because he knows that by doing this, he's going to get people with that opinion over to his social media. Is that a journalist? No, it's not. It's not my opinion. I'm looking at the standards. So that's why the public doesn't trust these people, because they're telling you they're biased, which is completely against the standards of what journalism should be. And if you are trying to hold YouTubers and hobbyers to the same standards as journalists because people are choosing them over you, you got more work to do. And that work that you could be doing is for the good of society, because there is no place. There is no place to go look at objective truth anymore. You can only look at opinion pieces. You have to go, if I want to know about a game, I have to go read the reviews from actual people who bought the game. Hopefully they're not bots, and they can give me their honest opinion. Because I know I'm not going to get it from maybe a YouTuber that's drama driven, right? That has to make the video negative, because if not, he's not going to get any views. And I'm not going to get it from the video game journalist, right? Who's going to ball wash the video game, because if he doesn't do that, he's going to lose access to that particular corporation that's funding and paying for the advertisement. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And at this point, can we fix the market? No, you cannot. Because nobody's going to go out there with billions of dollars and start paying these journalists what they deserve. Right? If you are only making, $75,000, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alyssa Mercante was an editor. So if she's getting $75,000, that means a regular journalist, if they are working full time, is probably in the 50s. They're not making any money. If you can't even afford to pay the rent on your apartment, how objective are you going to be if you got a guy like me telling you, hey, this weekend we're going to do this and do that, and that becomes part of your paycheck because I'm buttering your toast. I'm taking you on vacations you cannot afford on your own. Right? Who would say no to that? And if you guys are sitting out there going, I would never, bullshit. Everybody would. We've all taken, if you work in business and you get offered discounts and this and that and the other, it is part of the game. It's part of capitalism. Journalism should be held to a higher standard, right? If you're making the $120,000, then you're not going to fall prey to some guy offering you a weekend in Vegas because you make enough money to go get your own weekend in Vegas. But the pay is so bad in journalism right now that they can't even, number one, they can't hire actual professional journalists who are already trained. A lot of people are learning on the job. They go onto these magazines in order to wait for a job to whatever, left-leaning magazine they can work at. They're hoping to get a job at Politico, which they're not going to be able to now because, they can't even pay their people after they lost the USAID funding. So the whole thing is unfixable right now until we have some sort of way to make sure that journalists are objective in telling the truth. We have no way of doing that right now. There's 4 people on this thumbnail. They're not journalists, not because they're not called journalists in society, but because they don't follow the standards. A YouTuber is an entertainer. He's not a journalist. He might do entertaining work and he might do some journalistic work that's, worth a while. Great. Amazing. But you can't hold them to journalistic standards because they don't have the mechanism or the infrastructure. CoffeeZilla's screwed, right? Look at Carl Jobs. Look at Billy Mitchell. Billy Mitchell's having a field day. Carl Jobs is one judge's bad day away from losing $500,000 probably and completely affecting his family over what? Donkey Kong scores? That's why I'm saying you just can't call yourself a journalist because if people in the know, right, they're able to take advantage on your shortcomings because you're not a journalist, right? And when you go through the process, and the basic process of being a journalist, if you read the standards, a professional journalist is traditionally defined as an individual trained. That's right. You're trained. You're doing your work. You're going through mentorships, right? You're being mentored. Somebody with more experience is showing you, hey, this is the kind of assurance we get, right? These are the kind of pitfalls we don't want to fall into. We need to verify the story with 3 people before we even, it's not good enough to say that it's a rumor, right? Because we want to make sure that people come to us first. Those are all things that you learn from the trade, or you can learn by doing them wrong and somebody suing you. I mean, that's what happened to CoffeeZilla, right? And people can sue you here in America for anything. We live in a litigious country. Is there a solution to this? I don't know. The only solution I can offer you is, as the public, educate yourself on what journalism should be, what journalism is as opposed to opinion pieces, not take everything as fact, and most people don't. 69% of the public don't. They're smart enough to know that there's a catch, right? If you're listening to YouTubers, there's a catch, and if you're listening to traditional journalists, there's a catch. But if you want to know more about journalism, I'm going to put some resources down below, right? Some decent ones. And if there's anybody out there that wants to become a traditional journalist, not for the love of money, because nobody's going to pay you, but just because you want to become a good journalist, and I hope I can inspire you, or the state of journalism itself can inspire you to become a good journalist out there. Because, man, as the public, I'm telling you, we do need it. We have no place to turn to for objective truth, for information that we can trust is unbiased. Or having a journalist present both sides of the argument. It doesn't matter if they're left-leaning or right-leaning. At least have the confidence that they're going to give you all the pertinent information and not present to you the news in a biased way that hides or omits information that the public needs to know. All right, humans, thank you so much. That was just my commentary, guys. I know it's a huge story, and I didn't want to go the route of just criticizing people for the hell of criticizing people. I know that's what gets the views, but I think there's a much bigger point here. There's a much bigger point that we need journalism. We need true journalism, and it's something we don't have anymore. Video games might be trivial, it's just a hobby, but it's really just a symptom of the broader picture. We're in the dark ages of journalism. All right, humans, thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
New videos every Monday and Sunday. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Gen X Gamer. Remember to like and subscribe, click that notification bell, and remember, never ever be afraid to be happy. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.